As long as Elliott doesn't get in trouble with the NFL with all this stuff that's going on with him presently, which has been talked about and not just so don't need to go into that. I see them developing more the same, and in Prescott's case, getting more on target with his throws. His passing game will improve this year. Will get better, and Elliott will be another MVP type of performance. Because the line's still going to be strong. Elliott's only getting stronger, and with Prescott being more accurate, that will open up more plays in the running game as well as the passing. And see them all see both of them doing well.
Well, there were three different situations with Ezekiel Elliott in consecutive days. First, there were the accusations on Saturday about him assaulting the girlfriend, and then later Saturday night, early Sunday morning, there were reports that he was speeding 100 miles per hour on a highway, and then after that, the Sunday night, which was reported Monday morning, he beat up a DJ at a nightclub. So, three incidents in 3 consecutive days. I would be amazed if Ezekiel Elliott got no game suspended, but the NFL's investigation is still ongoing. It's still a legal process, and we don't have all the details yet. But when we do have all the details, we'll be the first to report those details on Draft Utopia and the Evolution Network. Two players are gone from that offensive line. Right tackle Doug Free retired, and left guard Ronald Leary retired. Lael Collins, the left guard who suffered a season-ending injury last year, is moving over to right tackle, so that does create a void or an opening at that left guard spot. Maybe Chaz Green, their third-round pick out of Florida, or someone else like that will step in. Maybe Byron Bell, the free agent they picked up from the Tennessee Titans. Maybe he'll step in at left guard. He was an okay left guard when healthy, but he's terrible at offensive tackle. So there's a little bit of shuffling on Dallas's offensive line, but their three blue chip pieces are Tyron Smith, Frederick, and then they've got Zach Parsons. But they extended Lael Collins recently, so that tells me he's going to be the indefinite right tackle of the future. So a lot of pieces in place on that offensive line with 4 of their 5 offensive linemen secured long term, and left guard maybe being the only void, assuming they don't find that answer this year. But they have still a pretty potent offensive line, and I expect big things from them once again.
I don't see it affecting him too much because and this just reported about an hour or so ago. I just now saw it. Dad Green is out 2 weeks with the shoulder injury, and the Cooper will be a starting a Bud and Cooper will be working with the first team at left guard with Green out. But with this only being a 2 week injury, and don't know how much effect it will have because with the Hall of Fame game and the first game of the preseason was starting to get a lot of work anyway. And I don't really see it happening too much because as most of y'all know and people who listen to Draft Utopia, I I haven't been a fan of Doug Free for the last couple of years.
Yeah, Doug Freed lost, retired, and they also lost Ronald Leary to the Denver Broncos, which is why there may be a little bit of a flux. But the 3 main guys are there, and they locked up Lael Collins. So Collins played well at right tackle, which he should. He's a left tackle at LSU. I don't think there's going to be a huge drop-off.
So I don't think it's drop off either.
It's definitely an interesting dynamic with the Dallas Cowboys. Right now, they have Sean Lee listed as the weak side linebacker on their depth chart. Lee can play any type of linebacker role, so here's their best bet. Anthony Hitchens has played linebacker, started at both weak side and the Mike as well as the strong side each of the last 2 years. But he'll probably start. Question is, will he start at the strong side, the Sam, or the Mike? I'm guessing Mike at this point. The X factor in his linebacking core is got to be Jalen Smith, the former Notre Dame linebacker, though. He has made some progress with his injury. Not sure if it's enough for him to resume playing, but right now the first starting strong side linebacker from projected depth charts through our lads is Damian Wilson. And I don't think Damian Wilson's a good starter. I mean, Hitchens, you can do better than him, but he's a solid short-term fit. And Sean Lee, he's the focal point of that linebacking core, the leader of that defense. And when he gets injured, it just feels like this entire linebacking core falls apart. But the irony is, even though Lee suffered injuries early in his career, he has taken off as of late the past few years, especially when the Rolando McClain suspension occurred, and some other different variables and stuff. So he is set for another huge season, I think, if he can stay healthy. And The X factor is clearly going to be Jalen Smith, the guy they traded up for in the second round of the 2016 NFL draft. Because if he can come back and occupy one of those linebacker roles, I cannot stress how huge that is for the Dallas Cowboys.
They're getting younger. And I want to go back with the linebackers. I think the linebackers is of the three groups is the strongest. And Son Lee, once he moved from the bike to the wheel, that injury concern has gone away. And he's not going to far as often as he was at the bike. So with him being the wheel, he's not. I think last year he played all 16 games that day in the secondary. They lost most of the secondary to the agency. Jerry Church left, or Claiborne left, and Jacob left. So they're going to bank a lot on the second-year players in the secondary, which is I've been working on that for years. So they'll be
As far as what Vern was saying with the secondary, though, there is a youth movement in place. They don't have any starters yet. There is definitely a youth movement in place based on what we saw during the 2017 NFL Draft. Second round, they went with Chidobe Awuzie out of Colorado right after getting Paco Charlton out of Michigan in the late first round. Third round, they got Jordan Lewis out of Michigan, a nickel cornerback for depth. Complement Orlando Sanders, maybe even replace him down the road. And Awuzie is probably going to be competing with Nolan Carroll, or maybe develops the year while Carroll plays out his contract. And then you got guys like Xavier Woods in the fifth round who are going to develop for a year or two, learn behind Byron Jones, learn behind Jeff Heath, maybe work into a depth role, start out. And then you got Marquez White in the sixth round. So Dallas really focused a lot on the defensive side of the ball. They used 6 of their 7 draft picks on defensive players, and the only 2 offensive players they got were wide receivers Brian Switzer and Noah Brown. And one more interesting note about the Dallas Cowboys. Right now on Hourglass, their starting left guard is Nate Seeker. I had a 4th-round grade on Nate Seeker, the Wayne State left tackle, but he was versatile enough to play anywhere at offensive tackle or guard. But Nate Seeker out of Wayne State, that would be a pretty cool underdog story if he managed to win his stuff on this starting offensive line and actually played well there. That'd be a pretty cool story.
if I had to put it in my crystal ball, I would say no. I, I think it all depends on their defense. I think he'll become more of a situational back, going to be used in certain defenses. He won't be an every down back.
Well, I haven't posted my season preview for this team on Draftopia, but spoiler alert, last week I harped on it about the Patriots to the point where Joey made a Patrick Stewart gift after the show. And spoiler alert, the Dallas Cowboys turn team are my pick to win the NFC this year. However, I have Dallas getting into the 6th seed. I have the Giants sweeping them in the regular season, getting the 2 seed. So I have Dallas as my 6th seed. I have them going to Green Bay, exacting revenge on the Packers in Lambeau Field, and then I have them going to Tampa Bay. That's right. I have Tampa Bay getting home field, and I have Dallas beating Tampa Bay due to their lack of experience in the playoffs, even though I think they could dominate the regular season. A really spectacular year. And then I have the Cowboys. Yep, they're facing the Giants in the NFC title game, and Dallas exacts their revenge on the Giants in New York to get the Super Bowl 52 in Minnesota, where they'll face my Patriots, and Joey will have to deal with Herb and I for 2 weeks.
I'm probably the Giants. 11 wins or 12 wins. I think they might play second go 11 wins, and I'm gonna go with them beginning to in the playoffs. I'm gonna go with Dallas being 11 and 5, and then being the end of the 3 seed. If they play like last year, yeah.
Wins the Super Bowl, I want to see one of the players accidentally pour the Gatorade on Jerry Jones instead of the head coach.
I want to go back. I want to make you said you didn't make it Super Bowl. You asked me if I thought it could make the Super Bowl. I said yes, but I'm with you. They're so young. They couldn't make it, but it all depends on how those youngins do.
One final thing on Dallas is I have a friend of mine. They said if Dallas does not make this Super Bowl, they expect them to make Super Bowl 54. 4 in a few years, and then if that doesn't work out, they'll win Super Bowl 56 in Inglewood, which is a bold prediction if they can keep that team together. But I can see it, too, because there's a huge window of opportunity there in Dallas. So let's move on to the Chiefs. They were second in the NFL in turnover differential, Joey, which means they didn't commit a lot of turnovers on the offensive side of the ball. They forced a lot of turnovers on the defensive side of the ball to compensate for it. I'm not worried about this Chiefs team at all. I know a lot of sports media experts around the country are Raiders, the AFC West champions, rightful offense is back. They did cut right tackle Austin Howard the other day, but let's focus on the Chiefs here because I still think the Chiefs have their entire offensive line intact. They've got Spencer Ware, who actually did step up and produce last year. You've got Kareem Hunt. And then you've got the quarterback situation with Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes, as well as a potent defense that is still a force to be reckoned with in the NFL. Allen Bailey, they did lose Don Tarico, but they replaced him with Benny Logan. And then you look at the linebacker situation, Derek Johnson. Derek Johnson is back from his injury. And then you've got Tom Lee still on this team, D Ford still on this team, Justin Houston still on this team. Marcus Peters is your number one corner. You have Eric Berry, Ron Parker back. You have this entire defense, for the most part, in Kansas City back. So I'm not really worried about a drop-off in play because the defense is still there. And Justin Houston did miss some time at the beginning of last year with injuries, and they still managed to pull it together. Now, this year, they get a much tougher schedule to begin the year. They get the Patriots on the road, week 1. Then after that, they get a home game against the Eagles. Week 3, they go to Los Angeles Chargers, which I think is a potential upset for the Chiefs. I lose that game. Week 4, they host Washington on Monday Night Football. And then week 5, they face the Texans on Sunday Night Football. They host Pittsburgh in week 6. And then week 7, they face the Raiders on Thursday Night Football in Oakland. And a layoff until Monday Night Football. So what I think is going to happen is the Chiefs are going to start 2-5. But then they're going to beat Denver on Monday night. They're going to go 10-6, and they're going to find a way to run the table. And we're either going to see Alex Smith get benched for Patrick Mahomes, or we're going to see Spencer Ware get injured and Kareem Hunt's going to step in and have a Priest-Holmes, Larry Johnson like first-year campaign with the Chiefs. One of those two scenarios where the rookie on the offensive side of the ball steps in and dominates is going to happen if the Chiefs go from 2-5 to 10-6 with that schedule. That absolutely has to happen. They're 2-5 after week 7. The Chiefs are going to play one, if not both, of their rookies in that situation, really. Honestly, I do. I have more confidence in him as a fantasy owner than I do with Spencer Ware. And I would not be surprised if Mahomes played either, but it's a wait-and-see thing with him, even though the Chiefs did trade into the top 10 to get it. I think Hunt's probably more ready to play at this point, but I would not be surprised if either rookie saw playing time for the Chiefs this season.
Okay, let me bring up the depth chart really quick.
I've got the depth chart here. Chris Conley, their 2016 third-round pick out of Georgia, is the projected starter across the Tyreek Hill at the moment. So it is their 2016 third-round pick. So go ahead. But Conley was the 2015 third-round pick out of Georgia. He sat on the bench 2 years, learned the system. He is projected to be the starter across the Tyreek Hill. They have G.U. Cheston on the fourth string, but I think he's probably going to be a third stringer at the worst with all of the lack of depth that the Chiefs have. Even DeMarcus Robinson could be a guy who emerges, a guy who was a 2016 fourth-round pick. Because the Chiefs have a lot of young receivers they've drafted over the past few years. It's just a matter of who emerges into that role. So, different strokes reference. Don't get us started. Parker Banking, the results go up. One, it did not happen. And another thing is Green Hunt's actually third on the hourglass depth chart. They have Andrew Flesh ahead of Hunt at the moment. And the Chiefs also brought in TJ Spiller, so we might not even see Hunt play, but they are probably going to run a two-back system because with all those running backs, West, Kareem Hunt, TJ Spiller, if all four of those running backs make the roster, then we're probably going to see another two-back set in Kansas City. I mean, and another thing really quickly, Parker Ettinger, the starting left guard that they drafted out of Cincinnati last year, who actually did well as a rookie, he's on the pup list again this year. So that could be another thing working against the Chiefs, because I did like their decision to extend Lawrence the Duvernay Cardis at right guard, but they did extend him. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see. The guard play could be an issue again if Ettinger goes down with an injury.
Yeah, I'm back. Who was the wide receiver you was asking about?
Chris Conley, the Georgia receiver, 2015 third-round pick.
He's listed on the depth chart as the starting second wide receiver.
That's what I said too, Joey. Yeah, with the Chiefs, I agree that they have a youth movement at the wide receiver position. So that's something they're going to need to look at. So that's definitely one thing to take into consideration here. Some other adjustments they've made on the defensive side of the ball is after sending Daniel Thornton as a backup to Eric Berry, they've also moved Eric Murray, the quarterback that he drafted out of Minnesota, to free safety as a backup to Rod Parker. even challenge partner for the starting free safety role at that point. Steven Nelson's in the nickel corner. DJ White, another guy they drafted in that tier with Tavar, Bree Russell, and Eric Murray. He's the number 4 cornerback, so they're still pretty deep at corner. Not as deep as they were last year, but they used Murray. They converted him to a safety. So they have some depth and talent there for sure. So I'm really interested to see what they're going to do because Raheem Roaches is the starter, but Kano Kapacignon, their second-round pick, could push him up. Chris Jones is on the pup list. Alan Bailey is starting right in, but Chris Jones, they've met a lot with some of these 5 technique players like Chris Jones, Kano. So that's going to be an interesting spot. There's a lot of positions on this team where it's going to be really fascinating to see how things out. And they also brought in Damian Mama out of USC as an undrafted free agent. So maybe he's the guy who steps in for Parker Ehinger if he can't get it together injury-wise. A lot of new and interesting scenarios with Kansas City Chiefs. .120 passing yards per game, Joey. Is that what you were about to say? I mean, Alvin Smith's not a guy with 500 passing yards, 35 touchdowns, blah, 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 but he's an excellent game manager. He knows how to limit the turnovers, and he can have 5 to 6 games in the regular season where he has no turnovers the entire game. That's just how reliable he is. That makes a huge difference. Was it around 5.4?
I'm going to say, I think it will be hard to do it.
Yeah, Eric Fisher actually got off to a pretty rough start in his first 2 years, but he really turned the corner in his third year and played well enough to earn a contract extension. You could argue that based off of consistency, he hasn't lived up to the type of being a number one pick, but he has a contract extended. He got extended a few years ago. I'm looking up the details of the contract right now on SpotTrack.com to see how much he made, but he got extended. I can tell you that much, and I think he's actually one of their more reliable offensive linemen. He signed a 4-year, $48 million contract with the Chiefs. I don't know the exact details, but this was after his rookie deal, and I'm looking at the details right now. The Spot Track page is loading, and he has his contract runs through 2022. But there is a buyout in 2019 if he struggles in the next 2 years, because right now the Chiefs would lose over. If the Chiefs released Eric Fisher after this season, they would save just over $4 million in cap space. But if they waited until 2019, they would save $8 million in cap space. So if they move on from Eric Fisher, it'll probably be in 2019 because that draft class is a very deep offensive tackle class. I know there's only been like a few mock drafts from Field Eye Sports and Walter Football, but all from the research I've done for our 2019 board for fans, there are at least 5 to 6 offensive tackles that are going to go first round in 2019, and at least 3 in the top 10. So Kansas City can worry about replacing Eric Fisher in 2019 if he underperforms these next 2 years. Because remember, they traded their first round pick to the Bills in the Patrick Mahomes deal. And they also got Mitchell Schwartz from the Browns free agency. He entered his second season as a starter, and Schwartz was so reliable next to Joe Thomas for so many years. He wasn't the best pass blocker, but he was durable, he was reliable, and he was someone the Browns could depend on. And the Chiefs, like the Falcons with Alex Mack, reaped the benefits of that. Yes. I found out Eric Fisher's sacks allowed total. Rookie year, he allowed 10 sacks. His second year, he cut that down to 7 sacks allowed. Cut back to quarterback rates allowed from 15 to 11. Year 3, he limited himself to 5 quarterback hurries allowed, 3 sacks allowed. And last year, 2016, 2 sacks allowed, 5 quarterback hurries once again. So if Fisher can limit the number of quarterback hurries and decrease from 5 to 3 and maintain the sacks allowed, and he'll be headed in the right direction. If not, the Chiefs will be stuck with him for another year because they don't have a 2018 first-round pick, and I doubt they're going to shoot themselves in the foot and say we can further from Eric Fisher when they can only save $4 million against the cap. because they have that 2019 first-round pick, which they can use to replace Fisher if he doesn't make rapid improvement in the next 2 years. Even though I love Eric Fisher and he's improved, you can argue he had number one overall draft pick, which is what I'm saying at here. Because I love their offensive tackle and guard. Joe Thomas didn't have to worry about that because he was drafted. Jamarcus Russell and Calvin Johnson were drafted ahead of him. But Eric Fisher went number one overall. So well, they are really difficult schedule. I said they're going to start 2-5, but finish the year 10-6. I still believe that from gut, from conviction, and with all the talent on the defensive side of the ball, if they get a home game in the wild card, I think they can win that. But again, for the third year in a row, the Chiefs will lose in the divisional round to either Pittsburgh or New England because they don't have the offensive firepower to keep up with a New England or a Pittsburgh. Just yes, even though I love their defense and they're doing everything correctly as far as building a successful team goes. And I know that's a heartbreaker for Chiefs fans to lose to Pittsburgh or New England for the third year in a row. That's a total heartbreaker, Kansas City. I get that. So, yeah, that's what.
I would say, the divisional round.
Yeah, I have them winning the division and beating the wild card in the opponent, which is probably going to be Jacksonville. But we've only done projections for the top 20 teams so far. But we have the Jaguars at 11-5 or 10-6, so they'd be the 5 seed, and then they'd beat the Jaguars due to their better defense, and then they'd lose in the divisional round to either New England or Pittsburgh. And then that's sort of what we expect from the Chiefs this year.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I got the Chiefs as a wild card with the Raiders winning the division.
Do you think if they played an AFC South team, could they beat that team and go to the divisional round first?
Possible, but they wouldn't. I don't think they would. They wouldn't win the divisional round. I think if they face the AFC South team in the wild card round, they can win that. But then they lose the divisional round.
So they could beat the AFC South winner in a wild card game, but if they face Oakland or any other team in the wild card round, let's say hypothetically New England or Pittsburgh gets the wild card, because New England gets Buffalo on the road, Miami on the road, Denver on the road, Oakland in Mexico, Atlanta, and Pittsburgh. Let's say hypothetically they lost all 6 of those games. They would probably face the Patriots in the wild card round. and they'd probably lose in that scenario too. So, yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation for Kansas City, but as long as they get an AFC South team, the possibility of them getting back to the divisional round is definitely on the table. Do you think they beat the Raiders in the wild card game first?
No.
Awesome. I got all of that